Hey guys, so over the last few days I made a couple of videos regarding the assassination of Charlie Kirk and some of its effects, especially in relation to the games industry. For now, this is likely to be the last video on that whole thing, but a really important one regardless before I move on back to games. And that is this big recent wave of FAFO that has gone on to impact the people who, in their infinite wisdom, empathy and humanity, decided to take to social media to celebrate and in some cases even encourage that heinous event, and now, of course, are losing their jobs as some people out there took their names, found out where they worked, and called the places to show them their own videos and posts. This has gone on to get a bunch of morons online whining about cancel culture and going on about how, oh, the right-wingers always so concerned of free speech and anti-cancel culture, and yet, look at them now, using it against others. As usual, I wish that I had picked up more examples of this, as there were some that specifically pissed me off since they involved teachers and workers in the health sector, but initially I wasn't really planning on making a video about this. I thought that this thing was going to go away, like it's absolutely ridiculous. But it basically just kept going and going until I snapped. And now it's getting even worse as people are using Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, which we'll be talking about later in the video too, to raise the temperature again and make it about this when it isn't. A lot of people are taking to social media to increase the temperature like crazy over a guy who got suspended by his own network and nobody else, for reasons that we'll be touching on the last part of the video. If you want to skip straight to it, there are timestamps in the top comment. But otherwise, we're going to be dismantling this bull from the top down because this is ridiculous. This isn't cancel culture. These people don't even understand what the hell that is, and that's not even enough. It's also the sheer gall of it. Like, these people used cancel culture for years, getting people they didn't like into trouble for nothing, for basic milquetoast opinions online or harmless jokes, or at times literally nothing, that they just made up blatant lies about. And oh boy, we'll be getting into it this video. And now that people are sick of their shit and stopped bending over to cancel culture as much, they go and posture against it. They use morals and ethics that they shat on for years against the victims of the system that they created. Oh honey, no, that's not gonna fly. So let's not waste any more time and jump right in, because I have a lot to say here. So let's take a few moments to remind people of what cancel culture actually is and how it was used. First of all, cancel culture requires power and influence over culture in order to override common sense, because at its core, it was being used to cancel people over the dumbest shit imaginable. Basically, when we see people losing their jobs over celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, it's a no-brainer. It's an immediate feeling of repulsion because you're in the presence of someone who is clearly not mentally well adjusted, and the actions that follow are a direct consequence of that. With examples from the actual cancel culture, it's the opposite. The actions themselves say and do next to nothing. They're basically disagreements. Some Karen from HR has to come in and submit a whole essay report trying to explain to an employer why the comment was so bad and why it required firing. None of it based in logic or sense, and all of it based in modern subjective bullshit. It's something caked with exaggerations meant to hyperbolize whatever the situation is. And if that fails, then in comes the external use of force. This power and influence over culture, leveraging advertisers and fan outrage online from unemployed terminally online morons, freelance ones who are just at home, and then my favorite ones, advocacy groups, which literally exist solely for shit like this. They're paid activists, and you already know how I feel about those. To basically come in and do coordinated attacks and exert more pressure on companies to get what they want. Let's go over some examples. I mean, why not? We got time. Let's take a trip back to 2018 or 2019. Kevin Hart was supposed to host the Oscars. An announcement was made and he was stoked about it. Now, love him or hate him, it doesn't really matter. The man was a comedian with a career on the rise, and this was a dream to him. The dream was crushed immediately as a bunch of online mobilized to get him cancelled, or at the very least, to get him to lose that opportunity, since comedians aren't as easy to cancel. And this was all because of tweets and jokes that he had made years ago, including routines from his live shows where, for example, one of his joke setups was that one of his biggest fears is for his son to grow up and be gay. The joke was totally mild. He even said that he had nothing against it, but it was just a fear for him as a parent, and so for him, if he could avoid that, then great. That part isn't even the punchline, it's just the setup for the joke. I would play the clip, but it's probably going to get claimed, so never mind. This type of thing, plus some edgy interactions online, which are bog standard with comedians, especially years ago, amounted to so much backlash online that the dude had to step down and apologize. Now this is cancel culture, my boys. You take shit from a comedy show that has no bearing on the man himself or even in reality, and you pretend as if it's something so incredibly bad, such a terrible thing, that it is a fireable offense. Something that must be punished because, oh, it perpetuates hatred. He is a homophobe. Except he wasn't. And what he said wasn't even an unnatural thing. In fact, if being gay is so awful and requires so much protection and hardship, then wouldn't it make sense for parents to hope for their kids to not have to go through the same hardship? But honestly, never mind that, because even if it was a bad thing, it didn't matter. It was a genuine joke at a comedy show. The joke wasn't about gay people, it didn't target gay people, and it presented no harm at all to anyone. If you're going to be this triggered of jokes, don't buy tickets to the shows and stay away from the DVDs. That's it. And this is a key difference, because you wouldn't want a psychopath calling for murder and dancing around over that gruesome footage to serve you coffee in the morning, or most importantly, to be anywhere near your kids or anywhere near medical positions, because they're fucking crazy. Nothing else is required here. No one has to submit an essay explaining why it's bad, nor call for a right-wing advocacy group to come in and get a bunch of people online calling Adidas or Nike or Coca-Cola or whatever the fuck to drop their sponsorships. The inhumanity is clearly on display, and that is the problem. The actual cancel culture lives and breeds fan fiction. For instance, Notch, the creator of Minecraft, was called a white supremacist for this tweet. Yeah, that's it. That's the tweet. That's the whole thing. It's okay to be white. That's all it took. That is all it took amidst a likely weird-ass Western internet culture of white hatred that he probably didn't even understand at the time, because guess what? I didn't either. I didn't understand it either when I came on the internet, which was kind of late. I played video games for far too long, and I ignored social medias for far too long. I just played video games, I hung out on Steam, I went outside, and then one day I was like, okay, you know what, let's try Twitter out. And I was like, holy fuck, what is going on? So that's probably what happened to him, because back then he was just a very quiet, awkward, game developer man. He probably started noticing this kind of weird culture, and he just questioned it and maybe said, hey, it's okay to be white, guys, I don't know. And bam! That was it. People got working on their goddamn fan fictions to demonize him, and all it did in the end was make him more based. Honestly, he didn't even need the job anymore. He made billions of dollars after all. W's in the chat and likes on the video for the homie, man. You guys have no idea how many hours I spent playing that game, first of all, and now he's making another one, and he's going to release the game, and nobody's going to care about these comments. The game's going to live or die by its own merits, and that's all that matters. Anyway, another example is our girl Gina Carano. All that Gina did was piss off Disney and their unhinged modern audience one too many times through small little things. Like, for example, she refused to put pronouns in her bio until one day she finally did, but instead of doing she/her, she just did a Star Wars thing and put in beep bop boop. But if I'm not mistaken, what actually got her in the end, the last drop in the bucket, was actually something else, and something ironic. It was her basically advocating against the very thing that got Charlie Kirk killed, which is this sickly demonization and ostracization of conservatives. This shit got her fired. Meanwhile, Cuck Pascal posted a picture raising the temperature, labeling conservatives as Nazis to his massive audience on Instagram, and his reward was every other role in Hollywood. But hey guys, don't forget, It's both sides, right? Yeah, both sides have to calm down, yeah, sure. See, that's another element of the real cancel culture. Double standards. A literal political tool that cannot be disconnected from the left. Not just because it was used by them and to push their agendas, but also because it relies on that aforementioned power and influence over culture. You can't cancel something and, for example, call on companies to get someone to lose their sponsors or advertisers without that power. Like, you couldn't call up McDonald's and be like, hey man, your boy Steve is anti-Christian. Like, it just doesn't work. McDonald's would just ask you if you'd like fries with that on your way out of the fucking door, because nobody gives a shit about whether you make any offensive comments about Christianity or white people for that matter. Unless you're calling for actual violence, and even then, so many people didn't care. It took Charlie Kirk dying for people to finally start giving a fuck about this, and for some consequences to finally come to those who do this. I showed you guys this clip in my previous video, but I'm gonna go ahead and show it again anyway, in case some of you are new watching this video. It's a game developer talking about how there are no white people working at a studio, and how that's a deliberate decision.
I have a team of 21 right now for Validate. It's a pretty big team. It's a crazy big team for indie games. But who is your team? Validate has a team of mostly all people of color. We have no white people on our team.
Holy Jesus.
I did that because I wanted to create a safe environment. And I know the best way for an environment to be safe is to be around people who are just like me. And I'm not saying that white people in the industry are creating unsafe environments. I'm not saying that. That is not what I'm saying. White people in the industry are creating unsafe environments. I'm not saying that. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying that sometimes it is hard to work with white people because they think that something may be okay, but it was really a microaggression.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man. Shit, I'm saying.
And no one wants to deal with that while they're trying to make a game that they love.
Why are you gay?
This didn't get her into any trouble, there were no consequences. In fact, her career only got better as she got hired up by EA to work on the Black Panther game, which has since been cancelled because after years of development, they barely had anything done. Maybe if EA had hired senior developers and competent talent, instead of virtue signaling dumb fucks, the project maybe would have been further along, huh? But I guess we'll never know. But yeah, that's a pretty blatant example of this shit, because naturally, if you had a white developer saying the same thing, the dude would have been cancelled and blacklisted, and the game would have been stripped from Game Award events. Hell, probably even stripped from stores themselves. In fact, as a white developer or director or voice actor or literally anything else in entertainment in general, not even just in the games industry, you actually don't even need to get anywhere close to that level of, you know, what do I even call it? What do I even call it, fellas? The point is that you don't need to get anywhere near that in order for you to lose jobs or to get constantly hounded. Really, in some cases, you don't have to do anything at all. This guy is Frazer Blaxland. He played a Daemon in Baldur's Gate 3 and was embraced by the community. Fast forward to 2024 and the dude got ostracized from it because people got together and deemed him to be a bigot because of posts that he had liked and accounts that he had followed on Twitter. Most of the posts outlined by these people who scoured his social media accounts were stuff like this, you know, expressing disbelief that a biological male won a Miss Nevada competition and was now competing for Miss USA, and liking stuff like this bill from DeSantis banning biological males from female sports. So basically, in other words, for some, transphobia, but for others, common sense things that are like 80-20 issues at best. These are even issues that people who don't have anything inherently against trans people can get behind, because we're talking about things that are being actively unrealistic or unfair to women. Things that infringe on people's very own safety, privacy, and even more than that when it comes to the sports situation. These are complicated matters that need to be discussed. Solutions need to be reached, and that's through dialogue, not through shutting people up and canceling them if they express the wrong opinion. and the accounts that he was following that they highlighted as hateful were even funnier because it was stuff like this. Joe Rogan, which is actually a very liberal guy, the only reason why the left hates him is because he's not leftist enough, let's be real.
That's hilarious. Armpit hair doesn't bother me at all.
No.
Doesn't
On
bother
a lady?
me.
So
No.
wait, you like jacked ladies with armpit hair?
Yeah, a little bit of
You're
armpit
getting
hair.
close, dude. You're so close.
Also, the girl from the Libs of TikTok account, people really hated this woman for pretty much just reposting stupid shit that she found on the internet. Like, obviously things have eventually evolved with her, especially as she got further targeted and put in the limelight, but it all stemmed from that. She didn't comment on anything, she just reposted their unhinged shit on social media, letting them essentially expose themselves to the world outside of their echo chambers. The type of situation kind of reminds me a little bit about J.K. Rowling, which is someone else that, cancel culture was used against, but they didn't cancel shit. The only thing they got her is essentially, I mean, let's be honest here, she still gets hella money. The Harry Potter thing is still huge. They couldn't cancel it. The only thing that they managed to do was kind of separate her from projects, but even then she's now getting involved with the HBO one, so I don't really know. The point is that I was trying to make here is that J.K. Rowling was someone who in the beginning she just had disagreements on the trans stuff. She had basic disagreements. She believed that some people use the trans label in order to express their fetishes and in order to prey on women. So basically, in other words, creeps who are not trans adopt the trans identity in order to be able to be creeps. People lost their minds over this and canceled the woman. She got death threats, she got people posting pictures in front of her home and their family homes, and this ended up radicalizing her. And so now, back then, you could be like, J.K. Rowling didn't say anything wrong, and then the conversation would end there. There wouldn't even be any screenshots that anybody could pick up. But ever since then, J.K. Rowling got radicalized, and so now she has a bunch of unhinged tweets that are not unhinged in the sense of that they're bad, they're just unhinged because she just doesn't give a shit anymore. She just went crazy. She was like, nowadays she will openly go on her Twitter and write, yes, I am a TERF, and go yourself. There's even one, I think, where instead of writing Merry Christmas, she wrote Merry Turfmas, and of course TERF means trans exclusionary radical feminist, so she's still a feminist, she's still a lefty, but she's just not left enough, guys. She's not crazy enough, so they hate her. And so this kind of reminds me of this girl a little bit, because this was just a girl who was scouring TikTok, and she saw these totally unhinged TikToks, and she decided to take them and repost them where everyone who doesn't use TikTok could see them as well. But then after that, situations evolved because she also got targeted. It is what it is. Anyway, sorry for that detour. Another person that he followed was, like this girl here, Riley Gaines, who, if you don't know who she is, she's a competitive swimmer who opposed biological males from competing and sharing locker rooms in the same sport. If you're interested in the topic, you should look into her. Now, obviously, these matters are very controversial, but the man wasn't advocating for any violence. In fact, he didn't advocate for anything at all. A quick analysis of his profile by Grok shows that he never really made any bigoted statements of his own. This man got cancelled over likes and follows he did in the privacy of his own time on social media. He was pushed away from Baldur's Gate 3 events, his co-workers, other voice actors, came out and denounced him, made him look like a monster to separate themselves and the game's reputation from him. By the way, really lovely people in this industry. Lovely, lovely people. They'll literally burn you just to be on the good graces of the mentally unhinged morons on the internet. And it's so ridiculous that I don't even know how these people don't understand the fact that they're next on the chopping block the moment that they make a tiny pointless little mistake that gets misconstrued into this massive monster through the machinations of cancel culture. We've seen it happen multiple times and we will continue to see it because people just don't learn. You are either the whole way with them or you're done. They'll love you on Monday and be calling for your cancellation on Tuesday. They even wanted him to be replaced in the game. They wanted Larian, the studio, to go back and re-record every single goddamn line from that character just because of this shit. They didn't do it though, of course. I can't even comprehend how you could ask that. I don't even comprehend how you could even Oh, Jesus, I can't comprehend a goddamn thing, honestly, brother. I can't comprehend anything. Do these people even know what hardship is, that they get so ass mad about this, that this is it? This is their whole end of the world scenario. This is their, you need to go back and re-record every line. He needs to be expunged from this video game. Oh my god, are you out of your mind? They don't know hardship. They don't know what real hardship is. They haven't been through a goddamn thing in their lives because this is what the they care about. And this is such a telling sign of that. But anyway, let me recompose myself. Holy, I swear, dude. To this day, this guy is still hounded. I actually went to his IMDb and his profile to see what he was up to, and things look pretty dry. Work clearly slowed down after this debacle, and on his Twitter profile, I was actually caught off guard when I saw this post from this year that he made thanking a fan for having made him something cool and sent it to him with a note. In the post, he briefly expresses having distanced himself from Baldur's Gate 3 things, and then a look in the comments reveals two Karens still banging on about that shit from over a year ago. You didn't want to distance yourself, you were forced to, and rightfully so. You are not Damon, and Damon is not you. Damon wouldn't support the things you do. He cares about people. Oh, you mean like how Frazer Blaxland cares about women? Tell the truth, you were disowned by the BG3 community after you exploited your fans for money like the financial parasite you are. And please, you could never one-up Damon, you are Anders. I think I'm gonna need a vacation after this video, bro, I swear. I have no idea what this guy is talking about when it comes to exploitation. I actually looked into Frazer Blaxland for a brief section of another video earlier this year, this one on screen by the way, if you want to check it out. I didn't see any such thing, and it seems that Frazer was also confused because he actually replied to this one saying, I didn't exploit anyone and all of this happened a year ago, so yes, some have disowned me, it's already happened, I'm afraid you are a little late to the party. If you want to really find out the full story, perhaps you shouldn't assume. And then this retard retorts with, did you accept money, art, and volunteer work from LGBTQIA+ individuals without disclosing your strong homophobic beliefs? This is fucking incredible. Oh my god, this is incredible, bro. Like this is gold. I struck gold with this one, boys. This is a new level of SJW-ness that I had never seen before. Like, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that we had to do that. By the way, there was nothing homophobic at all, not even in the likes and follows. Homophobia is about gay people, so these people are just blatantly making shit up. But anyway, that's just part for the course. Sorry, not part of the course, par for the course, right? That's the expression. Anyway, no guys, really, I'm serious. I didn't know that we have to provide a spreadsheet of our political and ideological beliefs before we interact with other people, and especially if we are getting something from them. Like if I go to a store, I gotta ask, hello, are you a bigot? Because if you are, then I do not want to give you my money. You know, like you gotta put it all on the table, like, hey, hello, how's it going? I need to know right now if you drive Mazdas. If you drive Mazdas, we cannot have a conversation because I hate you. I hate your guts. I don't want to talk to anybody who drives Mazdas. Got that shit? Like, I'm sorry fellas, I didn't know. This is a new frontier of wokery that I was unaware of, so it caught me off guard. So just in case there's some of you watching right now, you know, and you require disclosure, my name is Dez, my pronouns are Psych! And I voted for the Stormcloaks, but financially I have to say I lean towards the Empire. I don't mind elves living in my city so long as they work and contribute towards society, however I draw the line at Daedra worshippers. In my free time I like to go fishing and stealing private property, and then selling it to my scumbag friends in Riften. I believe in being tough on crime, as that is the only way to keep our cities clean. Well, except Riften, as that would really cut into my profits. I am a big believer in charity. I like to give alms to all the homeless that I come across, so long as they don't loiter around in front of my many properties across the country, which I bought by stealing the money back from the treasury. I think magic is fine, just don't go burning down any buildings. I think the Forsworn are a vile terrorist organization that rips the hearts out of their own people to create monsters born out of cursed pagan magic, and Ulfric is a goddamn hero for driving them out of Markarth. What happened in Morrowind is a tragedy, and I believe that we should embrace the Dark Elf refugees, some of them at least, especially because they too are racist towards the lizard people and the other elves. But I am prejudiced against their dark red eyes, and so I don't trust them either.
It's not the cold of Skyrim that gets to me, it's the stink from the people.
It's okay though, because when I visited Solstheim, I was treated like dog shit for being a Nord, which made me feel like the world was in perfect balance. I am happily married with a priestess of Dibella because, well, obviously.
Till it's cool, just cool, into the mouth. Nice.
As a supporter of local economies, I get my wood from local mills, but I would steal the logs if I could carry them on my own. I'm a strong believer in the 9 divines, but I rob tombs indiscriminately. I also rob temples and local shrines. I don't know if you've noticed yet, but I do a lot of stealing. But anyway, that's about it. I hope I never exploited you guys for your likes on my videos by not sharing my positions. Please subscribe! Okay, seriously, do you see how these people's brains work? Like, the dude played a likable character in the game, people went ahead and made fan art of it and all that jazz, it's just normal stuff that fandoms do, and because of that, they're calling it exploitation. This is ridiculous, man. Do voice actors and game developers need to disclose, their views on the socio-economic state of the world before they accept fan art? Oh my god, brother. Anyway, so this beloved cancel culture is also steeped in bullying, something these pricks love to virtue signal about. Oh, we must be kind, we're the party of tolerance. Yeah, bullshit, always has been. Meet Dr. Matt Taylor. This is one of the funniest yet saddest stories, and I don't even know how this one happened, man, I swear. Because this isn't in gaming or movies or anything like this, isn't in entertainment. We are now in the realm of science and progress. There was a huge space exploration event back in 2014, in a European Space Agency thing. The details aren't important. What's important was that it was a huge milestone for science, and so there was a broadcast, and he was one of the guys involved in the space mission and was delivering a briefing in this shirt. That's a picture of the fella right there. The shirt features some designs of a sexy sci-fi blonde girl, and people went and lost their goddamn minds over it, making a bunch of noise online about how it was sexist, and oh, it's harmful, and oh, it's regressive, and oh, it reinforces stereotypes that discourage women in STEM fields. This shit went viral with its own hashtag, and by the end of it, this was actually what ended up marking the event rather than the scientific achievement being presented, with many calling for the guy to be fired because of the shirt. Before I move on, do you see what I meant when I said that thing about you needing an essay and an explanation from HR, and you need a fan fiction sprinkled in to understand what's going on? This is because you go up to a boss somewhere and you go, this guy needs to be fired right now. And then the boss, and you show him the guy, and the boss is naturally going to be like, why? And then that's where they go. And, you see, it reinforces stereotypes that discourage women in STEM fields. What's your data for this? Data? Data? Were you a bigot as well? Do I need to go to the boss over your boss? What the fuck? Meanwhile, with the videos of people dancing and celebrating Charlie Kirk, you don't gotta do shit. You just gotta show up to their boss and be like, hey, look at this video of your employee. And they go, holy shit! Is this Greg? What are they them doing? This scientist fella was so shaken up by what had happened that he broke down crying the next day, apologizing, admitting that he had apparently made a big mistake and offended many people and how sorry he was. Thankfully, he managed to keep his job, but people didn't care about the apology because they're unhinged. They're nuts. The thing up there, you know, the noggin, it ain't working correctly. They are thirsting for ruination. Nothing else serves. These morons wanted a guy who studied for God knows how many years to get fired from a delicate job over a goddamn shirt. These people don't live in reality, man. Like, they genuinely think that this is like whatever the fuck they work at, like, I don't know, sign spinners outside of a hot dog stand while moonlighting as a Kotaku journalist or some shit, where they're totally expendable and their work doesn't really matter. And guys, as much as I would love to keep going here because of how many people were affected by this nonsense and how many of their cases are utterly ridiculous, I legitimately can't because the video would be massive and probably get boring, but I'll throw in a couple more to end this section. John Gibson was the CEO and co-founder of Tripwire Interactive. They develop and publish games, and some of their most prominent titles are, for example, Maneater, that shark game that came out a few years ago, and Killing Floor and Chivalry 2 Medieval Warfare. On a fateful afternoon, the CEO of the company made the fatal mistake of posting in support of a Texas Senate bill on anti-abortion law, where basically it banned abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. Here's what he actually said. Proud of the US Supreme Court affirming the Texas law banning abortion for babies with a heartbeat. As an entertainer, I don't get political often, yet with so many vocal peers on the other side of the issue, I felt it was important to go on record as a pro-life game developer. Now, ideally, the smartest thing to do in any of these situations is to never get political if you are in the games industry. Doesn't mean that you can't have your own views, but when you come out and you speak like this and you say, well, I am a pro-life game developer, you are making a mistake. It doesn't matter if you're on the right, on the left, doesn't matter if you're pro-abortion, anti-abortion, people are going to take notice of this, and it's not going to be for a good reason nor for good outcomes. It's always going to be for a bad one. Unless what you're talking about is inherently tied to politics within the video games industry, of course. With that said, his situation is understandable. This dude is in the games industry, which of course is obviously unbalanced when it comes to political viewpoints and representation, skewing much more towards a pro-choice stance, and he just wanted to be a voice in support of the pro-life stance. And this cost him his goddamn job because, like clockwork, the cancel party began. A bunch of morons online piled on with their hashtag brigades. Shipwright Studios, which co-developed Maneater and Chivalry 2, cancelled all of their contracts with the company, saying the CEO's views were incompatible with their values, and long story short, a few days later the guy stepped down as CEO. Again, no coexistence or disagreement is possible with these people. They will throw you to the dogs over anything, even simple disagreement on a matter like this. Make it make sense. How did we get here? And what's with the inconsistency? Like, on the matter of abortion, they'll ostracize you to defend women's rights. But with Frazer Blaxland, on the matter of biological males and female sports and female spaces, they'll crucify you for defending women's rights. What the f***? Could this be a case of brain damage? Another example was the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, Scott Cawthorn, I think that's how you say his name, who was cancelled because of his financial reports revealing donations to Republican politicians and Democratic politicians that, again, weren't lefty enough, like Tulsi Gabbard. People hounded him for supporting bad, harmful things, the usual thing. What's this? You're a conservative? But that's like literally being a Nazi. And how is it that those animes do it, like some shit like that, that's how they act. And so, in the midst of all the thunderous backlash, which by the way included death threats to his pregnant wife, super classy. Super classy, guys. Once again, lefties not beating these psycho allegations. The guy just kinda let the cat out of the bag, saying, I'm a Republican, I'm a Christian, and I'm pro-life. If I get cancelled, then I get cancelled. And then, again, days later, announced his retirement from public game development to focus on his family. He handpicked a successor to oversee the franchise and walked away into the sunset with the millions of dollars that all of his cancelees gave him over the years. Honestly, W. I don't even like the games, like he's probably way better off just raking in the money from the sidelines instead of developing them anyway. And what I mentioned about blatant lies can be called back to very easily to something that happened just a couple of months ago, where the lies of a Vice journalist, if you can even call it that, targeted Kirsche, who, if you're not aware, is a popular American VTuber. This asshole smeared her character, telling all manner of lies about her and amassing a bunch of cancel piggies to put pressure on Kirsche's sponsors to see if they would get her dropped. Thankfully, many still stuck with her, but the damage this caused to Kirsche was still massive. On one hand, a partnership that she held dear for a game that she really enjoyed and made, by the way, not made as in herself developing it, but made as in the game was dead and she revived it and gave it popularity. Anyway, they dropped her like if she was a dead weight because of these totally empty accusations. And on the other, she became a target of threats of violence plus doxing from the usual suspects, violent, bloodthirsty far-left cultists. She ended up having to move to a secure place for her own protection, streaming and living her life away from home because of it. And the worst part is that those accusations were such bullshit at such an unbelievable level that as soon as she took action against Vice with a cease and desist for running those biased articles in the first place, Vice ended up deleting the articles that the journalist had written smearing Kirsche, and then there was even a bit of a bigger shitstorm on the side because of other articles that this journalist had written elsewhere, as they were exposed as sick in the head, enjoying to play online video games aimed at young audiences with car batteries attached to their nutsack that would vibrate whenever someone touched the character. Well, you know, not car batteries, but you get the point. Anyway, this was an article, by the way. This isn't like bar talk. This is something that this person decided to write down as an article. In what world is this acceptable? In what world does someone like Kirsche get targeted, lied about, and ends up losing partnerships, potentially her whole career, plus having her life in danger, over bullshit? Well, in the world of actual cancel culture. Honestly, super based of her for having fought back against Vice, this is exactly what needs to happen more often. People need to fight back against all of this disinformation. They need to hold these outlets accountable for lying to people, for spreading disinformation constantly. They've gotten way too comfortable doing it over the years. There are hundreds of these ridiculous cases. Hell, forget hundreds, thousands of cases across media, games, movies, education, you know, like professors and shit, like Jordan Peterson is a very popular example, commentators, comics, somehow even a scientist as well, etc, 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 and most of them were for undeserved nonsense. I'm saying most because, you know, of course there's always a few instances of actually crazy shit, like a pedo or something getting ousted, which in that case, I mean, of course, we gotta get those out immediately, and you know, grave situations like that, but the majority of them just for wrongthink or jokes. Wrongthink or jokes against a goddamn system that's been trying to be in control of a narrative, in control of shaping culture. Remember that clip from You Know Who? We wanna force behaviors? Yeah, they did a great job, didn't they? And again, I said this in the previous video, although covering a different side of it, but again, maybe it started off as a good thing from a good, you know, from a good intention. That's why it was so easily adhered to by normies, you know, because it was basically shit like, hey fellas, come on now, you know, let's be more sensible here, alright? I mean, come on, we're all adults, it's the 21st century, let's leave the gays alone, alright? Come on, man, just leave them be, they're just homies like everyone else, it's just that they like other homies. You know, normal common sense stuff like that already had its own measure of progress to the point where there are even gay Republicans, but then it just spiraled out of control, one little bit at a time. On and on the slippery slope went, slipping further and further into lunacy and divisiveness. Divisiveness so extreme, so visceral that anyone with values or opinions that landed anywhere near the center, or worse, the right, had to be completely shut down and hidden from public view, ostracized through the powers of cancel culture, and aided by the powers of disinformation, which is a huge problem. Huge problem. How many of you guys have seen over the past week loads of clips of Charlie Kirk cut specifically to make him look like he was saying something that was just absolutely not his point? Because I've been seeing dozens of them. And it's the easiest shit to disprove. Like, all you literally have to do is just grab the entire video from where the clip was from. But it doesn't matter because it's working anyway. People don't want to think, people don't want to, you know, be shown how they're wrong, they just want to reaffirm their shit. What's happening with people getting fired over their comments about Charlie Kirk is simply not the same as what's happening right now. I don't even see it as a political thing inherently. I don't think this is a right-wing thing, and what's going on right now is much more of a, like, common sense humanity thing. Because I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry, bro, but it ain't normal to celebrate an assassination of just a fucking regular guy who wanted to talk to people who died in front of his family. It's also not normal to celebrate the further destabilization of the country through more political violence. Like, you got a few screws loose up in there if that's the case. This is just a common sense thing, and people are just being exposed for being disgusting and uncivilized. In other words, exposed for potential sociopaths who wish death upon those they have disagreements with. Disagreement over perfectly normal takes that most conservative people have, even their own goddamn parents, uncles, aunts, cousins, Jesus, brothers or sisters. Holy shit, like... And to this, their defenders like to say, this isn't just disagreements, okay? This is our life, this is our rights, in reply to them. And all I'll say is this: you have gotten fucking cooked by mainstream media. You've been so radicalized that you can't even recognize what a disagreement is. You're either a child who has zero control over your emotions, or you've been cooked by disinformation into believing lies about Charlie Kirk to the point where you think that he's like Dr. Evil or something. One way or another, they're clinically insane either way, and so why would any employer want them around in the first place? Like, this isn't cancel culture. They wouldn't even make it past their job interviews if this is how they acted. Normal people, regardless of political standing, regardless of opinions, disagreements, etc., do not want bloodthirsty retards working in their businesses. Newsflash. Nor do they want to go into a business like a restaurant or a cafe or whatever and be served by them, let alone wanting them in a room with their children or in charge of their health. Like, imagine being in an emergency situation and you're wearing a goddamn shirt with the American flag or something on it, you know, or having your phone coming in with you with your belongings, and they look you over, make an assumption that you are the political enemy, and decide that maybe, just maybe, your life ain't worth saving. Like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, where's the cancel culture? Where is it? I can't see it. This is like catching a guy stealing a car and sending him to prison. Oh man, look at the cancel culture. Can't even do anything in this country anymore. Where's the freedom? I thought you right-wingers stood for freedom. Like, honestly, I actually would rather have a dude who steals cars for a friend than one of these unhinged, maladjusted morons. Like, the worst that can happen is I wake up one day and my car is gone. On the other hand, I might not wake up at all if I express a milquetoast view such as, you know fellas, I don't know, but I think voter ID is crucial for a democracy. Again, cancel culture requires power and influence over culture, and in many ways, that is still dominated by the left. I mean, don't get me wrong, things are changing big time, especially now as the left exposes itself as monsters after celebrating Charlie's death, but take a look around. Just look at the games industry. Look at the Looney Lou from Sucker Punch, the developers of Ghost of Yote, who celebrated with a post on Blue Sky. Despite having fired her, they didn't fire all of the others, you know, liking her post, celebrating alongside her, sharing the same mindset. that. And most importantly, they didn't put out a statement disavowing those views the same way that all of these companies would do for the most insignificant of things, like with the CEO from before, where the other studio immediately dropped the contract and went, "Oh, those views do not reflect our studio's values." I talk a little bit more about this and why it's important in the video I made a few days ago. I'll put it in the description and the top comment. There hasn't been a peep from the studio. All they've been doing is spamming trailers from the game, hoping to drown that shit out and remind everyone that that piece of shit is coming out in a couple of weeks. This is still the dominant ideology in these spaces, and so you can't weaponize it in the way that cancel culture did for anyone that they didn't like, period. This isn't even up for discussion, it's just a fact. As the homie would say himself if he was not mourning his father, it's not even a question. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to here, it's Asmongold. You know, as of the recording of this video, yesterday his father sadly passed away, or rather, actually passed away a few days ago. It's just that he only posted about it yesterday. So if you guys have X, go and check it out, show him a bit of support. Rest in peace to Asmondad, absolutely based guy, all the way to the very end, and my sincere condolences to Asmongold. Circling back to the topic, these firings did not require any HR Karen essays or any doctored pictures or any cherry-picked statements or any manipulated footage or any disingenuous assholes or anything. It didn't require politically charged or opinionated bullshittery to twist it in any which way. It didn't require fan fictions to misconstrue or misrepresent intentions. It didn't require any online activist groups who spend all day on social media scouring for shit to get mad at so they can spam advertisers, sponsors, and other companies to bully them into complying. It didn't require anything. All it required were their own videos with their own words, their own little smiles, their own little interpretive dances, and in some cases, even their own little threats listing more people to be taken out, ranging from politicians and content creators that they didn't like, all the way to the very surviving widow and children of Charlie. But yes, please go on and keep trying to justify it. Please go on and keep trying to equate this to the cancel culture that you've made use of for over a decade. Please go on, because all that you're doing is further exposing yourselves. Now let's get on to Jimmy Kimmel and the fucking laughable clown show behind it. So Jimmy Kimmel has been suspended by the ABC, and for some reason loads of Democrat accounts are coming out in droves on X to drive up the narrative that not only is this cancel culture, but it's also evidence of Trump and the conservatives being fascists, because look, the guys who have spent years alienating what now represents more than half the country are losing their jobs. They're posting pictures of Jimmy Kimmel all over the place. Some are even going "We are Jimmy Kimmel" as a hashtag, which is just brilliant. I mean, loads of these accounts said nothing about Charlie Kirk, by the way. Like, if a guy gets shot, they're sleeping. Jimmy Kimmel, however, gets suspended for sucking at his job and lying to the public about verifiably false information, and oh my god, we must show support and stand up for this injustice. Like, I knew that these people were always clowns, but to just come out and admit that they're clowns by saying that they are all Jimmy Kimmel is actually pretty goddamn perfect. Cause really that's what this guy is, and he has been sinking into irrelevance for years now. He was popular about 10 years ago when he even had that segment where celebrities read mean tweets towards them, and also throughout Trump's first term where clowning on him was basically the holy grail of content for all of these TV shows. But his ratings and ratings from others like Stephen Colbert had been falling for a while now, and these people are now weaponizing the consequence of their unpopularity and of their own hand at spreading disinformation as it being the government forcing them to get shut down because they spoke badly about the president, which they had already been doing for his first term with no problem. But oh guys, you see, back in the first term, we were wrong. It wasn't really fascism, you know, not just yet, but now we're totally right, guys, okay? Now it totally is. Guys, please trust us, guys. We've only been blatantly cooking you, your friends, and your families with lies paid by blood money for over a decade, but hey, please trust us now, because now we're actually being really serious. Are you f***ing retarded? What is it with all these morons talking about legal and illegal and freedom of speech over this? This was ABC's decision, and honestly, at its core, it doesn't even necessarily have to do with Charlie Kirk. It's like you either get fired now because you lied amidst a terrible time where lies disguised as news on TV plus violent rhetoric has provably been impacting society, in which case it is related to Charlie Kirk and it's honestly just FAFO in action, or you get fired later because of a long-running string of consequences catching up with you, like low ratings because if most of the country voted conservative and your material is literally just mocking and demonizing conservatives, what the hell do you expect to happen? And also, why are we discounting the very basic thing of lying about a guy who got shot while implying that he deserved it? Again, these people are so devoid of morality that they can't even understand why that alone would be so incredibly bad taste that it could be just reason enough for your employer to not want you around. Also, really? Freedom of speech? Again, where was all this love for freedom of speech and legal/illegal when comedians, actors, directors, etc. were getting fired for harmless jokes or aligning with conservative views? Where were all these patriots at back then, huh? Where were they? How come they didn't say anything? I mean, what? It's such a peculiar thing. Isn't that funny how that shit happens? You know what it is, fellas? I'll tell you what it is. I'll explain it to you again. These people are a bunch of hyperbolic pussies unable to deal with the consequences of their own actions because they spent the last decade being coddled and enabled to do and say all that they wanted with no repercussions whatsoever, without even being called out for it, because nobody in the darling media dared to, because if they did, they would get cancelled too. All of their peers would protect them, and anyone that would ever say anything was always some kind of conservative voice. And what's been the narrative over the past 10 goddamn years even more about conservatives? Well, they don't matter, their opinions don't matter because they're bigots, they're demons, right? So of course, no accountability whatsoever. And if somebody tried to do it via Twitter, their shit would get suppressed before Elon bought the damn thing and put a stop to that echo chamber haven that it became now on Blue Sky. Like, wake the up and do the math. What do you think's going to happen if your material is composed of alienating your own audience? This dude, and Colbert too, by the way, because Bernie Sanders thought that it would be a great idea to bring him up. We'll get to that in a second. They lost their jobs, potentially, by the way, because Kimmel, he's only suspended for now. He hasn't actually lost his job as of yet, because these companies are finally realizing the shit that's been staring at them right in the face. Woke is dead. Making content specifically geared towards alienating, mocking, and demonizing conservatives is not profitable, much like it is in the gaming scene, with ideologically charged games, where they're worse and worse the more of that garbage they shovel into them. It's the same here. You can't run a talk show if people don't want to watch your talk show, and sadly, people like Colbert and Kimmel are so unprofessional and so locked into their little ideologic grift that they can't even be made to rework their content to be more attractive to a wider audience. So they just keep dogging on conservatives constantly, Monday through Friday, and then extra on the weekend, mocking them, lying about them, dehumanizing them, alienating them, wishing that they were dead. Here, have a look for yourselves, guys. Look at this super funny clip.
Dr. Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
Do I even need to say anything else here, man? These people stood silent when Charlie died, and the thing that makes them come out in support of someone is this unfunny moron who thinks it'd be funny for people who disagree with him to just drop dead. Like, videos like these don't even need to get made. These people just expose themselves for free. They have been doing so for years, but it's like it never mattered. It's like it was all just memes, and now, finally, something happens. And we see the reaction, and now it's real. And even then, it doesn't even matter, because the ones in power just don't care. You know, they make their little public statements pretending like they disavow what just happened, but then they go right back to their shit. It already happened with Trump last year when there was the attempt, and now it's already happening with Kirk. Like, here's Bernie Sanders joining the fray as well. This is what authoritarianism is about. Government silencing dissenting voices. Colbert, Kimmel, 15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times. Too many people have fought and died to defend freedom. We won't let Trump take it away. It's just incredible. A man just died about 10 days ago because of rhetoric and lies just like this that Bernie Sanders himself is spewing after talking about lowering the temperature. What else can even be said about this? Because I get speechless at things like these. How can the temperature ever get lowered if these clowns keep using every goddamn thing that they can get their hands on in order to raise it, in order to make up more lies and do this extreme rhetoric? A fucking clown gets fired, suspended actually, and we're talking about authoritarianism? He lies about provably false information, and we're talking about authoritarianism and freedom? Does this motherfucker have dementia or something? This is just disgusting, man. Have we learned nothing about what just happened? The blood still stains the cobblestones, and off they go doing the same thing again. They're not going to stop. Like, why aren't these people, like, why isn't Bernie Sanders over here and all of these other morons spamming X, literally spamming X? Like, I wish that I was getting news about Dying Light 2, sorry, not Dying Light 2, Dying Light the Beast. I wish I was getting more clips about Borderlands, you know, all of this stuff. Instead, every time I refresh my page, it's just Jimmy Kimmel. We are Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Trump is trying to take away the country away from us. We need to stop him right now because he just took down Jimmy Kimmel personally. Like, what the Why aren't these people getting together and complaining to Paramount and ABC instead? Like, go ahead and call them. Tell them that they're supposed to keep burning their budget on two clowns who haven't changed their material in 10 years. Tell them that they're forced to keep making content that alienates over half of the country because if they don't, then they're fascists. Go ahead and do that. Call them. Call the fucking networks. Like, what are we doing, man? I'm sorry, guys, I can't get over it. They were quiet this entire time, and now, suddenly, they're taking this clown. They're taking this clown and trying to make him some kind of a free speech martyr for getting suspended for being shit at his job. Honestly, fellas, if it wasn't such a serious situation because of the rhetoric, once again, escalating the temperature in society, it would actually be the funniest thing that I've ever seen in my life. This clown, dude, is the one that they're losing their minds over. These people are jokes. That's all that this is, a big cosmic joke. Claims of cancel culture that completely forgets, or rather misconstrue what cancel culture truly was, appeals to morality and ethics that they don't even have. They don't have it, they don't follow it, doesn't even matter. They're like saying, oh, the party of free speech is now supporting the cancel culture. I see how it is. Like, even if it was true, even if this was accurate, what are you even trying to say with it? That you're allowed to fuck with them to your heart's content while you have all the power, but now that you don't, the others can't use it because it's bad? Are you stupid? Or no, let me guess, they're not stupid, they're just disingenuous, right? Because if it's them using it, it's totally legitimate, but if it's someone else using it, no, if it's them, it's like, you see Notch going on Twitter like, it's okay to be white. And then the reaction is just... And now we got this, taking clowns whose jobs, are already on the way out and upholding them as victims of authoritarianism. Oh, that's like if the government forced us all to play Dragon Age Veilguard, because if we don't, then it's clear evidence of fascismus. Oh, how dare you not play the pronoun video game? How dare you suppress the ultimate entertainment product? Oh, how dare you not engage with the garbage? Oh, how dare more than half the country not sit down and watch Jimmy Kimmel talking shit about them for 1 hour? Oh, how dare you not support a dying show that cannot pay its own bills? This is fascismus. Clearly, this is all the fault of the Trump. Never mind that he already did it during the first term and nothing happened. Now it's for real though. Now it's real. Oh yeah. How dare these people not like the absolute peak of entertainment that is the Jimmy Kimmel talk show. How dare they not tune in to watch an unshaved, disheveled soy jack with TDS ranting and raving for 60 minutes plus ad breaks. Oh, get the fuck out of here. You have cooked yourselves, capiche? This content is shit. What's next on the agenda? We're gonna call it authoritarianism, that all of the latest shitty Marvel and Star Wars movies and shows have been failing? Is that it? We're gonna go back and say that people's rights are being taken away because the Acolyte didn't get a fucking second season? Listen, man, I'm done here before I rant and rave even more. These people are cooked. They cooked themselves slowly over years, and then over the past couple of years they raised the temperature so high and burnt themselves. Now nobody wants anything to do with them. People see through their lies, through their extreme narrative, through their disgusting lack of morals, seeing the shit that makes them cheer and celebrate, and they're done with them. We're done. Ain't nobody wanna watch any more Kimmels and Colberts playing up the divisiveness for laughs with lies, mockery, and disgusting comments alienating the other side. You wanna have them on? You can, but you can't force us to watch. You've never been able to force us to watch. We voted with our wallets time and time again, and now we're just that more invigorated to vote even harder. Wake up and smell the roses. It's a brand new fucking day. It's just too bad that we had to lose someone for people to finally start drawing that line. If I don't ever touch back on this topic again, I just wanted to say one last thing. Thank you all so much for the support. I lost a few subscribers, but I gained 10 times more. I'm proud of the community I have here. I appreciate all the kind words and all the support. Let's keep the train going and crush some more milestones. Rest in peace to Charlie, prayers for his poor family, and thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next one.